Hey guys, Phil/Polygon here. Welcome to part 14 in a Purist's Guide to Character Building. Very near completion with this thing, but not fully baked yet. Couple things left to check off the list. This time out, we're headed for Oolacile. We're going to tackle the DLC. And that's kind of an odd choice, right? Because with the exception of a single white slab, seemingly randomly placed as an afterthought down in the chasm of the abyss, ain't a whole lot going on for faith builds in Oolacile. Oolacile is all about ancient magics and sorceries and the lore behind Gwyn's ill-fated knights as they try to stop the advancement of the abyss. Not much for it's like the devs just kind of said, oh shit, we totally forgot about faith builds. Do something, I don't know, random white slab down in the chasm? Done. Regardless, we're headed there because it's an absolutely awesome area and it's a must-have for a PvP build. We'll talk about that, but in the meantime, we are headed for the DLC, and we're gonna fight the coolest boss in history, who screams in agony when you deplete him to 0 HP, Artorias! Let's go. Alright man, so right out of the gate, we've got to contend with the Sanctuary Guardian, what I think is an absolutely fantastic boss. And you know, the DLC is kind of known for its badass bosses. Kalameet the Black Dragon, Artorias of course, Sanctuary Guardian to get in there, and then Manus, Father of the Abyss, at the end of it. We're not going to meet all of those guys. I'm not going to take out Manus because I want to keep Oolacile Township alive as an active zone. I'm not going to take out Kalameet because there's absolutely no reason to, so we're only going to meet a fraction of the bosses in this episode because there is a focus on practicality. But DLC bosses, badass. We'll probably talk about each of them over the course of this thing. Did want to call out that little hallway we just passed through though, because I am so charmed that's a live PvP area. You can actually, so a lot of times you'll see summon signs in there, people hanging out, just waiting to assist people to get past the Sanctuary Guardian, right? And then you can get into Oolacile proper. But you can actually sit there and spam your red eye orb. You can invade in that little tiny hallway. I think the chances of connecting with somebody are slim to nil, considering how small it is, and by the time your connection catches up with them, they have probably moved on or are long gone. But if they're hanging out for whatever reason, or AFK sitting at the bonfire, you can absolutely invade them. It's kind of funny. Or be invaded too, so watch out for that if you decide to take a pee break. Just chilling in that hallway before taking on the Sanctuary Guardian. Let's talk about the Sanctuary Guardian. I really like this choice. As a game design choice, including this guy, including a boss before you can even get into the DLC, just seems so Dark Souls. Just classic From. Right? They include DLC, they release it later, and instead of just giving you a free pass, saying like, here you go, just go to the DLC, one, you have to really earn it. You have to go into the Duke's archives and kill that crystal golem in order to get the pendant. Then you have to figure out where you actually get to the DLC. There's this weird Abyssin portal that appears in that grotto where we picked up Dusk's crown. And after that, you have to come in here and take on a pretty tough boss. I don't know, I certainly did not beat this guy on my first playthrough, and I've got some rust here that I'm kind of blown off, and we do pretty well against this guy. But he's got a lot of different attacks. He's really aggressive, and I love the fact that his AI punishes the hell out of you for trying to make dumb heals or for trying to cast on him. You have to be really selective when you heal or when you cast or when you do something that isn't active dodging. So on that note, we'll call out safe zone. So anything he does that's aerial that misses you, you're safe to chug or cast. He's got his little swooping attack. He'll float up into the air and then just kind of sail at you, either trying to bite you or ram you with his little mountain goat horns. If he misses you with that, you're safe. He's got a pretty soft landing after that. He's also got his fly through the air shooting electro orbs. If he misses with those, you're safe to do something. That attack he just executed, his little flip, four-paw, cat scratch, fury, fever thing, is probably my favorite move that he has, and it makes a fight so tense because it covers so much ground, and it comes out of nowhere. It has almost no ramp-up time, and it is an absolutely brilliant punisher. If you try to chug in this guy's face, he will fire that thing off and get to you before the Estus hits your throat. So that's pretty right here is a great illustration. Like, I can't just heal. You have to be selective where you heal. You have to actively dodge and then heal. It's not like you can sit there and just spam your Estus, and it makes this fight a lot of fun. We've almost got him. You know, like any boss, once you figure it out, once you get his attack patterns down, you got your timings all mapped out, it's cake. But thinking back on that first time of fighting the Sanctuary Guardian, man, it was just such a gut check in terms of, oh my god, do they not want me to actually play through the DLC because I can't pass the first damn boss? Welcome to Oolacile, bitch. But we got him, and now we're headed for the Sanctuary and Oolacile proper. It'll give us a good chance to actually talk about Oolacile a little bit on its own. And actually, first, let me call out why we're messing with this at all. Because like I said in the intro, Oolacile's a weird place for a faith build. There's no miracles here. You can pick up some equipment that you can't get in the normal game. You can pick up Chester's gear. You can pick up the Obsidian Greatsword if you want to chop the tail off of Kalameet, or, you know, just random things that aren't available. But there's no miracles. There's a random white slab, which is always handy. But we've got our Partisan. That's pretty much going to be our only divine weapon. Why are we here? Oolacile Township. To this day, Oolacile Township remains a hotbed, kind of a nice little hub / nexus for PvP activity. So we're just going to get to that bonfire after we take out Artorias. Keep it active, leave Manus alone, we can host there, we can do invasions there, we can do whatever we want to do in Oolacile Township, because on the PC, what I'm playing on at least, that is where the majority of PvP happens. Last time I checked, at least. So this character is actually done in real life. I'm recording these commentaries a little bit behind the times, so I'm coming back to it. She's done. She's been out there a couple times. If you've seen her, what's up? But in my experience, Oolacile has been more active even than the Forest, especially more than the Burg. The Burg doesn't seem like it's got a lot going for it on the PC anymore. The Burg always was kind of slow on the PC, and on the PlayStation, it was the place to go. On PC, it is definitely Oolacile Township. That's where I have found the most PvP action in playing with this character. So I would actually say, regardless of what kind of build you're putting together, come to Oolacile, at least get access to it so you can warp to it, because there's always shit going on here. So let's talk about Oolacile itself for a little bit. It's kind of weird too, just as an aside. I think of Oolacile as part of the vanilla game. I came to Dark Souls pretty late, and the first time I played it was on the PC as part of the Prepare to Die edition, which came with the Artorias of the Abyss DLC. For me, Oolacile has always been part of the game. I think of it a lot like the Painted World of herein. It's just an optional area. I remember though, back in the day, I was following, even though I wasn't playing, all the speculation about what is Oolacile. Is it Moonlight? Is it the Moonlight Forest? Is the Moonlight Forest the ruins of this once great sorceress kingdom? Absolutely. Cool. This area that we're running through right now, hundreds of years in the future, is where all those forest hunters are going to be coming to gank you. These guys, these scarecrow dudes, turn into those Treants. Over the years, they just kind of degrade and devolve into tree creatures. These golems that are protecting it turn into those stone golems who can cast Tranquil Walk of Peace, one of the major clues that the Moonlight Forest actually is the ancient kingdom of Oolacile. Those guardians can cast Tranquil Walk of Peace, which is a sorcery that has its roots in Oolacile. And we're just kind of blazing through this as well, because again, there's nothing here that we want, we just want to get to Artorias. Give our regards to Kalameet as well. What's up, Black Dragon? Doing alright with your weird sonar ear ringing? And it's kind of cool. Like, I love the fact that the geography, with a couple of minor exceptions, you know, given wear and tear from the passage of time, is the same as Darkroot Forest, is the same as the Moonlight Butterfly Forest, just coming at it. They did a great job of masking it because you come at things from the opposite direction. It might be a lot more familiar if you went to Darkroot Forest via the Darkroot Basin. If you went down past the Hydra and climbed up that long-ass ladder by the waterfall and came through on the cat side of things, this might feel a lot more familiar. But yeah, man, it's the same place. And I think that is so cool, and I thought that was so clever in the way they did it. Even though it could be argued that it's lazy, right? Because they're just reusing a lot of the same geometry they'd created in the original game. I think the mystery element, if you did not spoil anything for yourself in terms of what is Oolacile, and you came down here and you had that aha moment of like, holy shit, this is Darkroot Forest. I recognize that bridge, I recognize that ledge, I recognize a lot of the things that are going on here. I think that is a nice touch, and I will forgive them reusing the level design. I think it was an intentional reuse of level design and not just simple recycling for budget reasons or whatever. I think it's cool, at least. Another thing I love about it, I'm just going to kind of gush, because again, we don't need to pick anything up. I'm going to kind of gush because when you start out in the forest, when you start out right outside the sanctuary and you start running through things, things are lush and healthy and vibrant. And the deeper you get, the closer you get to the township, you start to see the effects of the abyss creep in. You get these weird little obsidian stone fixtures. The ground seems to be rotting a little bit. The atmosphere, I think, is absolutely phenomenal. Of course, just on the other side of that fog gate is our old pal Artie. First of Gwyn's Knights. Best of Gwyn's Knights, not first as in the leader. That's Ornstein. But we gotta run over here just for grins, just for diabolical, menacing grins, and talk with our pal, Chester. He's pretty useful as a merchant, though overpriced. The stuff he sells is more expensive than you will get in Lordran. He's an opportunist. He's also from the future, right? He got pulled back to Oolacile by the same vaporous hand of Manus that reached out and snatched you back to the past. I wish we actually knew who Chester was. I know that's not Dark Souls' way. Everything's open to interpretation, the lore and the item description. I wish they would just fucking tell us, because I think Chester is so cool and so fascinating, and I want to know who he is. A lot of people think he's from Kareem, based on his bloodbite rings and based on his sniper crossbow. That's a weapon of Kareem. A lot of people think he's a noble, based on his exquisitely sewn trench coat, or top coat, I think it's called. A lot of people even think he is Count Arstor. Is it Count or Duke? I'm not sure. Noble of Kareem. Pretty insidious dude. He invades you later. I wish we knew who he was. But alas, we don't. He does sell Lloyd's talismans. At this point in the game, that is our only source with this character for Lloyd's talismans since we killed the undead merchant way back in episode 2. Having some problems with Artorias, ladies and gentlemen. This is where the rust really shows. Artorias is a very, very difficult boss. And it doesn't help if you just run into his sword. Rage dizzies. Let's talk Artorias, man. Can't say enough good things about him. From a technical standpoint, I think he's a phenomenal boss. Just like the Sanctuary Guardian, he's aggressive. He will come at you, unlike a lot of other bosses. And he's got some really stellar punishes. He can close distance as if from nowhere. He will come swinging at you from across the screen very, very quickly. And if you try and do something stupid in his face, if you chug in his face or cast in his face, he is going to pop you. He powers up like this over the course of the fight as well. So those stack. So he will eventually get to a point where one of his little hits will one-shot you with a full bar of HP if you let him continue to power up. You can actually interrupt him. If you go up and wail on him while he's gathering the power of the abyss, you can knock him out of that, keep him at base power. I usually take the opportunity to get a couple of free casts in, because he's tough to cast on otherwise. On the lore side of things, I think Artorias is my favorite asset in the game. Item, character, whatever. Within the Dark Souls codebase, Artorias is my favorite thing. He's a Knight of Gwyn. He serves under Ornstein, and so he's very noble. He's a bastion of integrity. He is the master of Sif, the wolf that we took out earlier in order to get, you don't say, the Covenant of Artorias, which let us go down and take on the Four Kings. And it's kind of cool too, because Sif fights the same way that Artorias does. Their time traveling together, this wolf, who grows up into a giant wielding a sword in his chops, paid attention to the way Artorias fights, and ends up using the same style of combat. Also worthy of note, he's using his offhand. I think this is so cool. If you read the description of his sword when you get it, Artorias is left-handed. His left hand hangs limp over the course of this fight. He's going at us right-handed, and he's still so formidable. God help us all if he were to fight us with his good hand. I also think he's super cool, not so much for him, but for his story. He left on this quest to stop the advancement of the Abyss and ultimately succumbed to it. I love the fact that the history around him is wrong. All of the things that you read in item descriptions saying Artorias went down and defeated the father of the Abyss. No, he didn't. You did. There's an unreliable narrator around the story of Artorias, and that is so fucking cool and so interesting. That's one of the reasons I love Final Fantasy Tactics so much as well. Awesome. Awesome. That's all we want with Oolacile. We got to the bonfire. We've got the township now active, so we get some PvP. Ultimately, this is all kind of moot, because I do plan on taking this character to NG+, which will finish up in the last one, and probably the final episode of the series will conclude this thing. So it's not like having the township active right now is any big deal. We got to come back to it later. But in the event that you are doing a single playthrough, get the township. If you do nothing else beyond this in Oolacile, get the township. So on there, I'm going to cut out. Let me know, what did I miss? Aside from Kalameet and Manus, what did I get wrong? Do you love Artorias? Oh my god, he's awesome. And I will catch you soon for the exciting conclusion in a Purist guide to character building. I'm stoked, man. First series ever completed. Not yet, but soon. Alright, catch you guys later.